It's September 1st, 1939. Adolf Hitler today ordered the German army to meet force with force. This significant moment set in motion a series of events that would forever alter the course of history. The ominous date marks the inception of one of the most blood-soaked conflicts in human history, World War II. On September 1st, 1939, a week after the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, German forces invaded from multiple directions, joined by Slovak military in the north. The German offensive, launched after the Gleiwitz incident, saw Polish forces retreating to fortified positions in the east after the Battle of the Bzura in mid-September. Despite the declaration of war by the UK and France in support of Poland, assistance was limited and the Polish army faced defeat. In 1940, 5 countries faced the invasion of Nazi Germany in their territory: Norway, Denmark, Belgium, Netherlands, and France. Germany imposed forced labor, took French prisoners of war, and pressured France to reduce its military forces. During the next 4 months after the occupation of France, Germany bombs Britain for 6 months in an attempt to weaken their resistance and invade the country, but without success. 1 year after the occupation of France, Adolf Hitler ordered the invasion of the Soviet Union, launching the so-called Operation Barbarossa, aiming to fulfill Nazi ideological goals of expanding German living space in the Western Soviet Union. The invasion involved over 3.8 million Axis personnel along a 900-kilometer front with a vast array of vehicles and horses. This offensive, a turning point in World War II, led to the opening of the Eastern Front and extensive battles, atrocities, and casualties. Despite early successes, Operation Barbarossa's failure altered Nazi Germany's fortunes, particularly the Battle of Moscow in 1941 and the Soviet counteroffensive in winter. The high number of dead German soldiers forced Nazi Germany to retreat. Whilst Nazi Germany was busy trying to stop the Red Army from advancing, on June 6, 1944, the Allies land on Normandy. Adolf Hitler assigned Field Marshal Erwin Rommel to fortify the Atlantic Wall in anticipation of the invasion, while U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt appointed Major General Dwight D. Eisenhower as the commander of Allied forces. The amphibious assault featured extensive aerial and naval bombardment, along with a midnight airborne assault deploying 24,000 American, British, and Canadian troops, breaking the German lines. By early 1945, Nazi Germany was on the verge of total military collapse. Poland had fallen to the advancing Soviet Red Army, while the Allies from France and Italy were advancing as if there was nothing to stop them. Hitler retreated to the Führerbunker in Berlin on the 16th of January 1945 until the 30th of April 1945, where he ended his own life with a gunshot to the head. The Third Reich, which the Nazis referred to as the Thousand-Year Reich, collapsed in May 1945, marking the end of World War II in Europe. But what if Hitler's war machine had continued to grind out victories? What strategic mistakes compromised his victory? What factors could have led to a diametrically opposite outcome? It is time to answer. How could Hitler have won World War II? (1940). The dust settled on the battlefields of Western Europe. France had fallen. Britain stood alone, battered but defiant. This was the moment, many felt, for Hitler to claim victory. He held the cards. But history, it seems, had other plans. May 1940. France falls. British troops are cornered in Dunkirk, trapped between the German army and the sea. But then, the Germans make their biggest mistake. Their advance halts. This unexpected pause gives the Brits a chance. Operation Dynamo is launched. Over 338,000 troops are saved from defeat. But what if the German panzers had not been halted? Well, it would have been another different story. They could have potentially crushed the British Expeditionary Force and prevented their evacuation. This would have resulted in a significant military defeat for the Allies. But it's not all. The Germans had a plan for the invasion of Malta, which was approved by Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini. The plan involved an airborne assault with 1 German and 1 Italian airborne division, followed by a seaborne landing of 2 or 3 divisions protected by the Regia Marina. This strategic move would have likely led to the fall of Malta, providing air superiority over the Mediterranean and allowing for better reinforcements for Rommel in North Africa. With Malta under Axis control, Egypt could have been captured, securing access to Middle East oil fields and potentially influencing British government decisions towards peace negotiations. Instead of continuing his campaign in the Western Front, Hitler made a decision that would change the course of the war. He turned his gaze eastward, drawn by a different kind of conquest, the invasion of the Soviet Union. But what went wrong? Several factors contributed to the failure of Operation Barbarossa. The Germans completely underestimated the Soviet will to fight. Also, the harsh Soviet winter played a significant role in the German defeat. Tank and vehicle lubricants froze, winter clothing supplies were held up in Poland, and fuel and ammunition took priority. Inadequately equipped German troops suffered in the cold. By the end of November, more German troops were in hospital with frostbite than with wounds. So, how could the Germans have avoided an inevitable defeat? Well, ensuring adequate winter clothing and equipment for the harsh Soviet winter could have improved the German army's chances of success. Also, avoiding overextension by focusing on one strategic objective at a time could have helped the Germans maintain their military strength and avoid costly mistakes. In any case, delaying Operation Barbarossa until the West Front was secured would have led to a different result, maybe the victory of Germany over Soviet Union. It's the D-Day. Naval bombardments shattered the pre-dawn calm, turning the French coastline into a dance of fire and fury. The invasion of Normandy was divided geographically into 5 sectors along a roughly 50-mile stretch of the French coastline. The Allies managed to breach the shores of Normandy, but the cost in terms of human lives was exceedingly high. However, the success of D-Day was not predetermined and was a huge gamble that could have easily ended in disaster. The Germans made a mistake by dispersing their forces instead of concentrating their military power on the critical strategic targets, like the beaches where the Allies could launch their invasion. A more focused, aggressive defense of these key locations could have hindered the Allied landing and evacuation efforts. In addition, we must not forget that Germany found itself in a two-front war. The German military was stretched thin, fighting on 2 fronts. In the east, they were facing the Red Army, which was determined to avenge the Nazi invasion of their country. In the west, they were facing the Allied armies, which were preparing to invade France. So, how could Hitler have defeated the Allies on D-Day? This is a complicated question because at this point in history, Germany had no chance of facing the Allies in the west and the Soviets in the east. His only possible victory lay in the fact of making sure to win the campaign in the West against the Allies before launching Operation Barbarossa. The story we've explored today may have taken place in a different time and location, but its themes resonate deeply with our present world. By understanding the past, we gain valuable tools to navigate the complexities of the present. We can learn from past mistakes, celebrate triumphs, and draw inspiration for building a better future.